Hello friends, welcome in today's video. Today we will discuss the metaphysical movement in English literature. This movement took place during the Elizabethan era, and in this video we'll discuss the main features of this movement, who were the main metaphysical poets and their poetry. Literally, meta means beyond and physics means physical nature. It was Dryden who, for the first time, used the word metaphysical in connection with Donne's poetry and wrote, Donne affects the metaphysics. And Dr. Samuel Johnson, confirmed the judgment of Dryden. Ever since, the word metaphysical has been used for Donne and his followers. John Donne inspired a lot of followers, notably among whom were Sir John Suckling, John Cleveland, George Herbert, Richard Crashaw, Henry Vaughan, and Abraham Cowley. Donne's poetry is not metaphysical in the true sense of the word. A metaphysical poem is long, while Donne's poems are all short. His poetry does not expound any philosophical system of the universe, rather, it is as much concerned with his emotions and personal experiences as any other poetry. Despite this, the metaphysical poets have greatly influenced the poetry of the 20th century. The main characteristics of the metaphysical school of poetry can be summed up as: first, delight in novel thoughts and expression. The metaphysical poets, in Johnson's words, desire to say what they hoped had been never said before. They did not feel obliged to follow the trodden path. They had their own thoughts and they worked out their own manner of expressing them. Sir Walter Scott said they played with thoughts as the Elizabethans had played with words. However, the playfulness of metaphysical poetry is not frivolous. The witty expression and novel ideas are fundamental to poetic purpose. The metaphysical poet seeks to make a logical connection between the abstract and concrete, the far and the near, in expressing his experience of emotional reality. Conceits. Conceits are the far fetched images. Metaphysical poetry is heavily overloaded with conceits, which may be defined as the excessive use of over elaborated similes and metaphors drawn from the most far fetched, remote, and unfamiliar sources. The main features of metaphysical conceits are they uses figures of speech excessively, their similes and metaphors are far-fetched and are often drawn from the most unfamiliar sources, their figures are elaborated to the farthest limits, the relationship they perceive are not obvious on the face of nature, their images are logical and intellectual rather than sensuous or emotional. For example, when John Donne compares a flea to a marriage bed in his poem, the flea, it is it is a it is an example of a conceit which is very rare and very foreign to the most of the minds. Then third is affectation and hyperbole. Affectation and hyperbole has always been a favorite device of metaphysical poets, but their use of hyperbole is never superficial. For example, when John Donne says to his mistress, "Oh, more than moon, draw not up, cease to drown me in thy spear," he wishes to say that the mistress is more than moon because she is more fair. She attracts the poet as the moon does the tides. Her tears are akin to the salt on which he is about to watch. All these ideas are compressed into one single image. Next is obscurity. John Donne and other metaphysical poets draw their imagery and images from such varied sources as medieval theology, scholastic philosophy, the Ptolemaic astronomy of the Middle Ages, and the concepts of contemporary sciences. hence the difficult nature of their poetry, and hence they have been charged with the obscurity in their poetry. The difficulty of the reader is further increased by the extreme condensation and density of their poetry also. Another point is dramatic realism, abrupt colloquial openings. The most striking feature of Donne's poetry, apart from his brilliant conceits, are his use of direct speech, his colloquial vigor, and journal air of dramatic realism. For example, in The Sun Rising, he says, "Busy old fool, unruly sun, why dost thou thus, through windows and through curtains, call on us?" Or in Go and Catch a Falling Star, he starts abruptly, "Go and catch a falling star, get with child a mandrake root." Then the another important point is the learning. Metaphysical poetry is full of scholarship of its authors. A whole book of knowledge might be compiled from the scholarly allusions in Donne and Cowley alone. And same is with the other writers of metaphysical age. Sources of metaphysical inspiration. The metaphysical element, it seems, first made its appearance in love poems, following the example of Italian writers, notably that of the Mariana, whom Donne adopted as his model. Donne's influence was most congenial to religious poets who were his avowed followers. George Herbert, from 1593 to 1633, writes poetry that is simpler than Donne's because his experience is narrower, but his imagery, like Donne's, appeals to the mind rather than the senses. Henry Vaughan, from 1621 to 1695, considered both Donne and Herbert as his master, but he is more lyrical than them, and his sensitive description of nature bring a new range of experience within the scope of metaphysical style. Richard Crashaw, from 1612 to 1649, reflects the influence of Donne in his use of elaborate forms, but deals with the emotional and sensational aspect of conceits rather than on their intellectual implications. Andrew Maskell combines Donne's wit with a unique lyrical grace in both religious and secular poems. So, these are the important aspect and features of metaphysical poems. If you have any queries related to this topic, you can write into the comment box or you can directly message me. Thank you.